Alright, should we just get started, and if anyone else joins in, they can join in when they join in?
Yeah. That's good.
As long as they're not like me, because sometimes I kick in the door screaming.
People tend to not do that.
Oh, well, surprise!
Alright. I apologize in advance for my brother in the background. He's very chatty.
I'm just having a good time.
I love it. He reminds me of a bird. He doesn't even care who's listening. He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna talk. It's great.
Yeah. Not so great when you're recording things for the internet, though, but I mean...
Fair enough.
The internet can deal with it.
I mean, they're gonna have to. If I try to cut him out of it, there's no way anyone's gonna be able to say anything. So...
True.
But yeah, so the topic that was posed was, why do you think so many Sylvari roleplayers RP as Nightmare Courtiers? Should we just go down the list? Does anyone want to go first?
Never.
We'll start with Odie.
No.
Get wrecked. She's like a teacher. She just picks out the person who's quiet.
Well, I mean, he's first on my list after me, and I'm the host, so... I mean, I guess I could go first, and then Odie.
Give us a template so we can all say what you say.
It's a slightly different wording.
Just ditto, and then that's it.
It's like, me too. I agree.
Absolutely.
Wait, so is it like, it's like not a personal answer as like why you, or is it just like why do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was
I was just like, that sounds like exactly the same thing. Both things that you said sounded exactly the same to me.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sorry.
Cover it all.
I'll figure it out.
But yeah, no, it's like, why do you think? Like, what's your opinion from observations, or why you personally went towards Nightmare Court RP, whatever your own personal feelings are on it. So when I was asked that, because I was whispered in game, and asked about it, and the person who asked me doesn't actually play a Nightmare Courtier. They don't. I think they only have one Sylvari, but they just noticed that pretty much all the Sylvari they've seen have been courtiers. So what I said is that I think it's like that's a twofold question, because the nature of Nightmare Court RP is that it's very dramatic and dark and mature. That being
people like to feel dark and dramatic and mature.
Right.
Well, like, I think that it draws, on the one hand, it's sort of like when I went into my first forensics course, and my teacher was up in front of the class, and she said that, forensics courses tend to draw two types of people. The people who are generally interested, who want to make this their career, who want to do this just for, the point of putting people away for crimes. And it also attracts the nutsos and the crazies and the people who are just really turned on by death and murder and gore, and who are, for all intents and purposes, somewhat demented and sick.
I'm scared.
So which one are you?
That was rude. God. Obviously, it's
I
sick.
plead the fifth. So, so I think it's something like that, because I have noticed, two very distinct sort of groupings of people who RP as Nightmare Courtiers. Those who just enjoy it, who like the drama, who that's just what they do, that's what they enjoy. And then there's also the people who are sort of trying to almost live out, I don't want to say fetishes, but fetishes in a way. and just who are not necessarily in it for the RP and don't necessarily RP quote unquote properly. And they're just there because they're insane. There's something about Nightmare Court RP that does draw people who have problems sometimes. Like, I mean, not to classify people. I don't want to say, I'm not saying all Nightmare Court RPers are insane. Because, like...
What? What? Oh no, I'm in the wrong
I
place.
think I'm well adjusted.
Oh my gosh.
But,
You are
like...
a minority.
but,
Where's
like...
Lluvin?
There are people who do have problems, like, yeah, I don't want to get into, like, classifying those problems, because, like, that's kind of shitty for me to do, but, like, yeah, so there are, like, those two kinds of groups, and people just do that, and then, like, so that's, like, one branch, yeah, so that's, like, one branch of a way that I can explain it, and then, on the other hand, another way I explained it is that if you're looking for Sylvari style RP, like if you have a character who's a Sylvari, most of the time you don't, I don't really see Sylvari in like mixed type of groups. Like I don't see very many when it comes to like RPers and like what they choose to, like the races they choose to RP, like Char, human or whatever, they tend to stay with their own races. Like humans tend to RP with other human guilds, and Char tend to RP with war bands and stuff like that. And I think that's partly why you choose the race you choose to RP, is what like grouping of RP seems to appeal to you the most. Maybe. And then also in that setting, if you go Sylvari, there's pretty much, if you're going to go just straight up a Sylvari only guild, there's pretty much only two ways you can go. Dreamer or Nightmare. And Dreamer RP, for the most part, I'm not saying all the time, but for the most part, people are really stupid when they RP Dreamers. And they RP them as these wide-eyed and innocent and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed people who love life and have no problems, and everything is hunky-dory and everything is great and wonderful. Praise the tree and tablet. Can I get a hallelujah?
Whoa.
Hallelujah.
Praise Joko.
So, like, that's the type of dreamers that I've seen. Like... Not all of them. I have seen a few who are able to not do that. But more times than not, I've seen them like that. And that just, personally, is... I hate it. Because nobody is like that. I don't give a fuck. Like, that's not reality. I don't like it. I like some reality in my RP. So, there's no way I can pull off that kind of character. No way.
See, I feel like, honestly, like, at least to me, like, what I think is that, like, Dreamer RP would just be kind of like human RP, almost, because, like, it's not, I don't know. I don't really see too much of the difference between, like, race RPs, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I could never pull off a Dreamer like that, so I'm just like, no, I'll just stick with Nightmare Courtiers, or a Soundless, or something. So... So I think that it might be something similar with other people, like, if they see all these really happy, perky people, like, it's, for me, it's kind of...
happy, perky people?
I mean, okay, I'm sorry, I just can't, it comes across as really fake to me, and I hate it. Like...
I mean, fair enough.
Not even like reasonably like happy and like
reasonably people. Like, dude, be happy, love your life. But if all you do is grin and your eyes are like wide and bright and you're blinking like crazy and you just love the Grove. The Grove is so wonderful. Oh my god, everything is so great. This tree is so beautiful. Oh, look at that. That's such a beautiful plant. Oh, everything is so wonderful. I love my life. I can't deal with that.
That is a whole lot of drugs.
Like, are you sure that like we're the nightmares here?
Yeah, right. That's pretty horrifying. I feel that is a Grove Inquisition coming on.
But yeah, that's my thing. So I think the reason so many Sylvari role players RP as Nightmare Courtiers, to sort of sum up my little section, is that they're either drawn to it because they like the drama, they like the dark, or they're drawn to it because they're a little not all put together, or they just can't stand Dreamer RP. And when you're talking about Sylvari, that's like Sylvari only guilds. That's pretty much the only groups that I've seen. Like I'm sure there's probably others out there, but that's pretty much all I see are Wardens, Dreamers, and Nightmare Courtiers. So you just sort of have to make a decision on what you prefer to do. You're up, Odie.
I think you tackled a lot of good points. For example, like Nightmare for sure, definitely more mature, I would say. Really depending on I wouldn't say all Dreamers are quite like how you say, but a lot of the ones you encounter in DR or even in the Grove are they all are super I don't know, cringy to the point where you just want to avoid them. To be fair, that's kind of how they're presented at some points, but wasn't really drawn to that. I wanted a character with well, I'm not saying those characters don't have a whole lot of depth. It's just you're building a character that you want to act like they're a child almost. Like you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Zero experience, and they come in and are annoying characters, but that's how the character is. I'm not saying the player is, but Nightmare, it feels like you're dealing with a lot more characters that are more well-grounded, know where they're at and what they're doing, and their character is more established. At least that's kind of why I chose it. Warden I was considering doing, but that just kind of felt like weird guard with maybe more exploration or something.
Mm-hmm. All right, Lluvin, your turn.
So I guess for me it's more of the you know how in sometimes when for example in Pokemon there's always people who are oh, what if you could join it because it was offered then, and I guess that's sort of similar to how I view it, because you kind of play as a Dreamer in the main story, and this is an RPG, so I feel like I would want to get a perspective of RP, or that's not offered game ready. Mm-hmm. So that's my main thing, and also I sort of was you guys are kind of just the guild that I encountered, I guess, because I never played a Guild Wars RP before, and it kind of just happened, so there's also that. But to me, the fact that I stayed and continued being was definitely the fact that it was not something that's I can already sort of experience. And also it's more closely tied to a previous experiences of roleplay that's like Guild Wars roleplay? Like, sort of, like you're not playing lawful good character. Yes. So yeah, that's kind of my answer.
So it's basically just like, in the story you play as like the good guy, and it's just like interesting to see what it's like on the other side of that coin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's your turn, Leanne.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I already started. LOL. I suppose. What was the question again?
Why do you think so many Sylvari role players RP as Nightmare Courtiers?
Okay, so again, on the whole topic of depth and whatever, honestly, yeah, whatever, way to go, me. The whole topic of depth. With a Nightmare Courtier, you get to experience the damages of the universe in a very realistic way. Where a lot of the human population, when in our world, in reality, when we're damaged, we don't tend to just stand back up, eat a cupcake, and keep walking. We grieve, we go through the stages of loss, we suffer, in various ways. And there are times, and we will even try to fight the people who are trying their best to help us, because we can't necessarily see through all of our struggles who is real and who is fake, and what is real and what is fake. And those things that you suffer through can be creatively expressed and better understood through writing like that. It makes the humans, the actual real world human spirit, a little bit more relatable and in depth, and it's something that you can develop. And the idea of being able to interact with these other characters that may or may not experience that, and crafting a story with other people that you can kind of appreciate on a personal level. It's a story that you and someone else are writing. I feel that from the courtier end of it, there's a lot more freedom. Whereas the best way I can compare it is comparing a peasant to a monastery monk. The peasant, yes, they live by particular rules. They have certain things that they have to live by, certain rules, laws, not necessarily, you know, not necessarily like fully binding rules. I mean, obviously, you don't steal from the king. You don't, there are things that you don't do, but it's a bit more free. Whereas as a monk in a church, you can't glance at a pretty girl. You can't partake in the overconsumption of wine. You can't, deviate from particular scriptures in a book, and that is a lot more restricting lifestyle. And I feel that the tablet, in a way, is almost like trying to make a lot of dreamers something akin to monks, whereas as a nightmare courtier would be something a bit more akin to a peasant in a village. They'd be they can generally marry whoever they want, as long as they're of lower stature, and rank around their area. They can freely work. They can partake in wines and cheeses and stuff, so long. And again, but with the moral ambiguity of what darker divulging can be, such as, well, murder and things like that. So I think there's a big difference there, and they're such extremes, and I think it can be difficult because the in between stage from being a dreamer to a nightmare is so short. Nobody gets to experience that. It's kind of like like an like an engagement ring. You go from dating to engaged, but the engagement period is really short. And then boom, you're married. That's that's supposed to be it. That's the rest of your life. Your courtier. That's it. So I mean, that's how I would say.
I'm just sitting here like shit. I have to follow up after that.
I also like while you were talking, it reminded me of like another reason why I like RPing as a Nightmare Courtier. Like generally in all the RPs that I do, like all the platforms, I play like some sort of villain type of character, like or what might be perceived as a villain, and like I personally try to bring some humanity to that with my characters because like villains aren't just evil 24/7. They have lives, they have
like
right.
Yeah, like they're so easy to just
Hitler.
completely demonize.
Like, am I wrong? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Hitler wanted to be a painter before he became what he became.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, I mean, there are reasons that people snap. There really are. They don't just come out kicking, swinging, and crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, I like that dynamic of the Nightmare Court because like, and you see it in the personal story. If you do the White Stag, you see Gavin. It's Gavin, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and like
Bring a personal story that I haven't done.
It wrecked.
Spoilers.
But like, some courtiers have honor. Some are.
Sryse.
Some are. Some are like, they have more depth than that, and like, all characters have some sort of depth, but I find it personally more rewarding to sort of try and portray a villain with that depth and with that like bit of humanity, because it's almost not necessarily like a redemption story, because once they're Nightmare, they're not going back. It's a one-way ticket. I just
Also the aspect of being quote unquote a villain is your punishments and stuff are a lot greater. They're to a greater degree, and the drama there is escalated. So in a sense, it is a soap opera. But it's also an action film, and it's fueled off the imagination because of the context with which it is created. And we are just lucky, to have pre-written lore, although sometimes you want to fight with the creators.
ain't it, please?
I mean, it's lore that exists. It's lore that's not necessarily complete or good.
Right. It's not complete. That gives me room to put what I want.
It's like, just fudge it a little. Like, they didn't write this.
Alright, Sryse, you're up.
Alright. Personally, I've never really been one like drawn to like that kind of like villain RP, but I do think I find Court to be a pretty interesting like scenario and like very conducive to like realistic and like interesting drama. But really, if I'm gonna be completely honest, like the reason why I got into Pale was just because TMA, my old guild, kind of died, and like somebody was just like, "Oh, like I still like you, like let's RP," and I'm just like, "All right," and then join this guild that I haven't had a Vari. And
Rebound guild.
And I've had like, I guess technically, but I've had a lot of like good, interesting RP out of it, even if it is technically a rebound guild. What else?
Do you even like Nightmare Court RP? Do we even know you?
Not to say that.
Do I even exist?
Wow. Your silence speaks volumes.
I'm thinking. Okay, I'm thinking.
The other side of the fence, people. The other side of the fence.
I don't know. I just kind of like followed where like people went, like in sort of a way. I mean, I've enjoyed the RP, but yeah, there's no like personal draw to it. But I've had a good stay, and I've repeated myself like 3 times because I can't think of anything else to say.
Do you think it's because you've had a pretty easygoing life and never really experienced a whole bunch of trauma? So it wasn't really relatable for you?
Yeah, that's part of it. I've literally had like very like few problems. I do think, but I appreciate that how it's like, I don't know, like it's not afraid to do what it is. Like there's no like censorship with it. Like it knows that it's like it can be like gruesome and like really dark and stuff like that. And I can appreciate that kind of like honesty and not like hiding itself. And I guess that's kind of a nice part of it.
I feel like I don't even know you now.
Yeah, you don't. Sorry.
Wow.
Now he's just somebody that I used to know.
But I will say like something to that like moral ambiguity effect where like I kind of like it where when a character can be like in one like sense of the word like completely reprehensible and in the other sense like they're like actually still a good person like kind of with Sryse because like he usually means well but like he's done some pretty horrible shit like to Andrin like either like regardless of whether it's intentional or not but and that kind of depth sort of thing. I'm sorry if anything I've said has made it hard to like discuss after. He's like, wow, like this guy, he's a poser. He's been with us for.
What? Yeah, whenever he like gets in chat,
He
we just
doesn't
need
even
to
like
get
Nightmare Court
awkwardly
RP. Like
he's been fake RPing for a year.
and now we know why Sryse the character had so many problems.
Right, and his posts are so slow. He's waiting for somebody else to run back and forth and do it for him.
Yes, clearly. But yeah, I mean, like, if I'm gonna be completely honest, like, yeah, that's part of why Sryse had so many problems because, like, I couldn't see him like fully as a courtier. Like, I don't know, I didn't really like want to do that with him. So yeah.
I think like
fair.
in that vein, there are a lot of different ways to balance being a courtier and not being an evil piece of shit.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And not doing graphic and gory things. Like, Cassidius does not like to convert by using torture. He prefers to have a conversation with people. As far as, you know, like gore and stereotypical Nightmare Court things go, Cassidius doesn't really, like, fit that mold. Because he was a warden for so long. Like, and he had, not to say that other Nightmare Courtiers don't have morals and standards, but, like, he has a very specific set of morals and standards that he doesn't feel that he ever wants to compromise. So, he's also, like, he's only a little older than Sryse the character, so, but, like, he's also been in that kind of structure, like, a lot longer than Sryse the character has.
Yeah, like Sryse literally had like no structure in his life like whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like
on him.
I feel like Sryse the character could have been a really like he could have found that kind of like balance. He could have been able to find a way to like, be a Nightmare Courtier, but still have honor, not be like, bloodthirsty kind of killer or a manipulative asshole like some other courtiers can be.
You calling me out?
No, I was actually calling out Andrin.
Yeah. I imagine her like side-eyeing, like.
No, I'm actually playing with like this really soft measuring tape. So I'm like looking at that while I'm recording. Like I'm not stink-eyeing anybody.
I was just messing with you.
And that's also part of the reason why I felt comfortable with you guys, sort of RP Nightmare Court, because like I definitely the whole a lot of torturing and those kind of things were something that I originally thought that Nightmare Court RP would be, and like it definitely wasn't something that I was completely, but sort of watching you guys, like, because I lamped you guys quite often before I joined, like I guess the fact, like, mostly like how Murky plays Ellen, sort of the like I sit down and talk with you kind of way is more of
I'm not sure if Lluvin's actually talking or if that's just like background noise.
She's talking. Her mic's just cutting out a lot.
Oh, sorry. But basically, the way that like I saw you guys sort of play this nightmare sort of character is sort of why I was willing to stay and start role playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels like a more one I like feel safer, I guess, because things that are a little bit too graphical. So because I've developed like
Right.
this platform, so it definitely makes it feel a lot more comfortable.
I feel that our court in particular, when it comes to graphic scenes, we set it up so that ahead of time we hope that nobody is uncomfortable. And if it gets to a point where it is uncomfortable, we maturely talk it out and decide from there if it's something we want to keep or even redo.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
I think of the way we communicate with each other is vastly important, because we don't want anybody to be or feel like they're put under some kind of pressure to play a certain way or be a certain way. That's the way I see it anyway. I've been here about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, our court in particular, I've also had the opportunity to role play with other courts, and honestly, Nightmare Courtiers get a bad rep that we don't really deserve, because a lot of the Nightmare Court guilds aren't bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you find the players in Divinity's Reach
Yeah.
that you realize the difference. If you play in a Nightmare Court guild, you can find a certain level of maturity there and functionality.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you role play with, no offense to anybody who like hangs out in the Reach, but Nightmare Courtiers in the Reach are just, they go full ham and wicked crazy and come up with these like elaborate plots and schemes that's supposed to get the entire community involved that never happen, and then just turn into these outrageous, out of character fights.
Mm-hmm.
And
makes you what you said though makes you wonder if like if a different guild who do Divinity's Reach RP is like Oh my god, Divinity's Reach RP gets such a bad name.
Probably. Probably. This is just my experience. And I'm not saying all courtiers and DR are bad.
I'm not even
But-
saying all DRRP is bad. Like,
I mean, fair enough.
some of it can be delightful.
But I feel like there's a lot of communication here, whereas what I've seen of non-Nightmare guilds, just kind of freelance Nightmare-ish, is very creative, but
Creative. It's like the most euphemistically.
I'm so sorry, but it's creative, and the ideals are awesome, but just like there's minimal communication with people, and not a whole lot of connection, and not enough so that when your character's about to do something that would be a little what you might consider full ham crazy, or just seemingly unprovoked, there's no explanation there or anything like that, generally, because you're RPing with a bunch of random people, and there's no structure. There's just I guess assumptions. And people just assume that certain things should happen a certain way, and then because of assumptions and own personal preference, they have a tendency to conflict, which then turns into both sometimes in character and out of character conflict, which is, I think, where a lot of the bad reputation for Nightmare Court comes from, is a lack of communication and lack of understanding of lore, because it's very scattered and you have to go around and pick up different pieces here and there, and then some of it can seem kind of questionable to other pieces. But I mean, that's how I see it. I'm sorry if I insulted anybody. I really didn't mean to.
No, I mean, I think you're fine. I think that, yeah, like, I personally have never been part of a Nightmare Court guild that was ever, like, bad. Like, what you expect the Nightmare Court to be. Because, like, if you... Like, a lot of the times, like, I'll hear stuff about, like, the Nightmare Court, and they'll be, like, talking about how, like, everyone's just sick and depraved and murderous, and all they want to do is torture and laugh and all that stuff. And I'm just like, that sounds absolutely horrible. Why would anyone want to be part of that? Like, that does not sound fun, because it's just like, like, the whole thing, like, how many times can you patrol the the Caledon before it gets boring? How many times can you torture someone before that gets dull, Like, so I think it's just a lot of people who are not involved with that community tend to generalize it based on some, not necessarily even just DRRP, but like the public RPers, the tavern RPers that are not necessarily, I mean, they might or might not be part of a Nightmare Court guild, but who, go full edge in public RP and just, hail fouling and all that kind of stuff, like the fanatics, the fanatics that give the other ones a bad name. And I'm sure that, like, as far as like the dreamer stuff goes, it's the fanatical, the people who RP, not even the people who RP, but the characters who
constantly like
the characters who are just like fanatic dreamers give the rest of the dreamers a bad rep. Like, just...
I think that's what, like, honestly, like, with everything, like, the fanatics of anything give the rest of anything a bad rep.
Yeah.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, there are those stereotypical dreamers. There are those stereotypical courtiers. There are also, those stereotypical Azura who are going to experiment on Sylvari, and they're the stereotypical Inquest, and then there's the Inquest who have no desire to be evil. They're just doing Inquesty things, you know? So it's just like...
Hashtag not evil Inquesty things.
Just doing them. I mean,
You
it
know,
pays.
yeah. So, yeah, I think it's just... You know, I think ultimately what it boils down to is just personal preference. I think it's also, as far as like Nightmare Court stuff goes, like when you go to RP, I think everybody, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you RP, you kind of want there to be some form of drama, because otherwise,
What's the point?
yeah, there's nothing to really RP. If there's no drama to drive a plot, because, like, I personally feel,
Yeah, like-
anyway, that, like, most plots come from some kind of drama or conflict.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to make a plot about going and collecting apples. I'm just saying.
I mean, but that could lead to a fight over the apple basket, and there's your drama. Like,
Right.
And,
you
you know,
absolutely
the entire Trojan War.
Huh. Helen of Troy.
I mean, the entire Trojan War was basically fought over an apple.
Right.
It was made by, like, the goddess of discord, but it was still an...
The goddess of Discord.
I caught
Yeah.
that too. I was just like, ha ha ha, Discord.
You're like,
Oh.
But yeah, so if that's the case, like if you're of that mindset that, you know, you RP not only because you enjoy it, but because you like to have some form of drama in your RP, it's easier to get drama from the Nightmare Court, because holy hell. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Gotcha drama right here.
it's full of drama. Whereas if you're playing a dreamer, you have to, it's not like you have to fabricate the drama, but, and fabricate's not even the right word. Like, it's difficult for me to word right now, but like, it's
You have to work harder. Definitely.
a little bit, yeah. You have to work a little bit harder to find the drama, because it doesn't necessarily exist constantly. Whereas in the Nightmare
You'd
Court,
have to get involved with the Nightmare Court to get that kind of drama.
well, I mean, there's always some
Lure
you could
'em in.
always make some kind of drama. I mean, I'm not familiar with Dreamer RP in any real way, shape, or form. Let's be real about that, because I don't do it. But I mean, just like with any other non-villain related plot, you could have some kind of drama. You know, characters interacting with other characters brings about the potential for drama. But in the Nightmare Court, you've got such stark differences in personalities and everything like that like, I just think that the drama is just there constantly, and there's so many branches of drama in the Nightmare Court that you don't have to work as hard to like find it. It's just literally there on like a buffet table, and you can
pick your
just
drama.
yeah, you can just like walk across with your plate and like pick up whatever you want.
Right.
It's like a,
I also like it's a lot easier to have a character with quirks and stuff for me in the Nightmare Court, because like I mean you kind of expect those things, whereas if you're playing a dreamer and they have a nervous tick, like generally those people are kind enough, like in character, those people would be kind enough to try and mend that kind of thing, and then that tick would be gone, that you know whatever, and you'd have to BS your way through an excuse as to why your character would have a slight tick or even a nervous twitch or something, you know, because magical healing. It seems we have that here. That's an issue that I have with high fantasy, is, you know, magical healing cures all, you know, but yet you've got Tybalt Left Paw, who didn't have a left paw.
Oh, he didn't?
No, he
was
left it behind.
mechanical.
I'm squinting at you, Odie. He left it behind.
Huh?
You're so bad. Wow.
I don't have a prompt, I swear.
Hi, bro. Wow, the half the community is gonna want your name so that they can hunt you down.
I mean, like,
half of everyone is a Tybalt fan.
he was like just
I mean, I'm a
quiet
Tybalt
ever
fan,
since.
but
Yeah, he
don't-
was quiet since his fucking turn. He was like waiting for the perfect moment to make a pun.
I mean, granted, I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I'm a Tybalt fan, but I can still appreciate it. But
I mean, I
Tybalt's
love
just fine.
Tybalt. I
Honestly,
got a
he's
kick out
adorable.
of that pun, but like, Jesus Christ, Odie.
I really hated him.
Wow.
What? But you hate
Apples.
everything, so I'm not shocked.
I love how
Apples.
Sryse's like whole argument is but apples.
But Apple.
He's just so adorable. He's like the cutest man.
It's such a horrible misrepresentation of the Order of Whispers and how they would operate. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you're
I don't
right,
care about how the Order of
but
Whispers
he was-
operates. So
He was the stupid one, so I mean, that was the whole point of that. He was the exception to the rule.
that's why he had to work desk jobs for like.
Yeah, pretty much.
What, did they get like a tax cut for employing him?
Wow.
We got a crippled char. Check.
oh my god.
I'm laughing. Oh god.
Who's taxing the Order of Whispers? I would like to
Yeah,
know.
that's a good question.
The Order of Shadows for them sealing their fucking name.
Oh, that's fair enough. Right, he's got us there.
I mean, everyone has their own reasons for RPing. Some people use it as an escape. Some people just do it because they just really like storytelling. Some people
Right.
do it for both.
And some people are just really bored with how monotonous their real life is. So they're like, I need drama.
Let's make an interesting new one.
So, yeah, so I mean, like, you know, everyone has their own reasons for RPing, and, you know, regardless of what you choose to RP, which type of story you want to tell, your reality does come first. And if you can't take care of your reality, it's going to show in your RP, and it's not going to be enjoyable for you. It's not going to be enjoyable for anyone that you're RPing with. So,
I love this RP in moderation message we have going on.
just like alcohol, don't RP and drive. Do not RP and drive.
Oh my god, it's like you're like writing a post, crashes and dies.
No, I can't even
See.
say anything. Like,
I
there have
know,
been
I
times
know
where I've taken
people.
my phone and I'll be at a stoplight and I'll be
No.
doing a Discord RP while at the stoplight.
What is
Oh my God.
wrong with you?
I don't do it
Same.
while I'm driving, just at the
Oh, yeah,
stoplight.
that's right, because at a stoplight it's perfectly safe.
I
Make
mean,
sure
I'm
that
not
your
moving.
Emergency brake is locked.
Andrew, you may have a problem.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This
This is
AA
secretly
meeting
an
is
intervention.
This is why, I mean, it is Roleplayers Anonymous.
Oh my god, wow.
Did you
Where's
just
it?
make that connection, Sryse?
really.
Literally, yes.
Oh my god.
No, it's kind of a cool name, yeah, and then, yeah. hmm
Good
just-
job.
I knew it rang a bell. It sounded familiar.
Now we understand why he's been so confused. Like, he's just come here for the snacks and the coffee.
Yeah.
Not
He's
even
all
the
like,
Might
"Oh,
there's
have a
snacks."
talk? Alright. Feelings? I can do that. Some, maybe. Kinda.
Shen was AFK and I lured a bunch of mosquitoes to him.
What?
And then you have the
That's-
Nightmare Courtiers that are like Odie.
Right. I mean, it can be a lot of fun. It can be very trickstery.
hmm I just wait until Odie passes out at his desk, and I build walls around him.
You've never
Like
done that.
I have done that. That night you were drunk.
Oh, okay.
Aww, I missed
That was a
the
good
night
night.
we were Oh man!
It was up in the arena. I made a. I don't know if you even saw it before you logged out.
No, I didn't. I was asleep. I came back in the morning.
Did you see it when you came back?
I think so.
There was a sign. I put 2 hedges. Like
No, I didn't see it because when I woke up, I logged in and I was in like the Grove.
oh gosh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So like
That.
when he was like passed out, Glitter and I were screaming at him through Discord. We tried calling him like 50 times. And then like I just built hedges around him because he was still in the arena. And I put a signpost there, and I put a very, very profound, very proverby type of thing on it. And it said something to the effect of, he who passes out while still online gets...
Dies.
That isn't the first time that's happened either, but first time due to alcohol.
And it was like, you know, he who passes out online gets hedges built in his name or something like that. It had a rhyme. It did rhyme. I was very proud of myself.
Roses are red, violets are blue, alcohol's bad, drink Mountain Dew.
It did not say that. That's good though. Did
think
Sryse
Mountain
just
Dew is
say,
not
how about
much better."
water?
Yeah.
Well, that's not unhealthy for you at all. What's wrong with you?
Why would you drink something so
Healthy.
clean?
He's young and impressionable, okay?
I'm just gonna get my veins replaced with Baja Blast. For the blood in my veins.
Yes.
God.